everybody, and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay, and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
And today we are talking about Prince of Thorns by Broken. This is the first book in the Broken Empire Trilogy.
Yes.
So, as always, the first thing we're going to do is start off with ratings. This, for me, this is one of my favorite books. So for me, this is like fudge, chocolate fudge. If it were soaked in blood, albeit, because of the bloody hot fudge, but whatever.
I guess a red velvet choc fudge.
Yeah, that.
Because that's got a red tinge to it.
Yeah.
But it's still chocolate flavored. I would probably go with a pork scapellini. Yes.
Yay.
I like pork scapellini without the mushrooms. But a pork scapellini, because as I was saying to you before we went live, in terms of the plot, it's quite simplistic, but it's very enjoyable.
Yeah. So what was funny about you saying, okay, also, before we get into this, a couple of disclaimers. One, we are going to be discussing really violent stuff and really disturbing stuff in any manner that you can think of something that's disturbing. We're going to talk about it, okay? Okay, so don't get your panties in a bunch. The other disclaimer is that when I say that I like Jorg, what I mean is that I like him as a character. I don't condone things. So if you're a fuckwit and you think that that's what I mean, go sit in the corner.
Leave. Yes, because Jorg is the quintessential anti-hero.
Yeah, I love Jorg to bits, but not because I would condone somebody doing what he does in real life. And if that's your immediate thought, leave, please. Just go away. And the other thing is, this is Book Club with Bay, not spoiler-free book review with Bay. We talk about the books. If you want our reviews, we give them in the form of food. You have them. But it's spoilers from here on out. So as we talked about this a little bit before we went live, but you said that the plot of this is basically like you have a kid who goes on an adventure and becomes king. And I was like, oh.
There's no subplots.
Yeah, there aren't. Well, okay. Here's the reason why that gave me a little bit of pause, because just for a little bit of background, this series is also set in the same world as the Red Queen's War series. And I read that series first, even though you're supposed to read this series first. So knowing what I knew going into this series, you kind of read this series like reading into all the stuff that happens, not as a subplot, but as like, oh, all of this is important because it's setting up for the things that happen in the next series. So, like technically speaking, there is no subplot, but everything's important. So I did like, we always take notes for stuff, but I did the notes for this just to write down all the things that would be important for both this series and when we do the Red Queen's War series. And I think this is the longest notes document I've ever done. And this is the shortest book out of all 6 books. So it's a good thing that one of us has read these books multiple times.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting it to be longer than what it was based on your build up.
The next ones are longer and they just get longer from here on out.
Yeah.
But like the one thing though is that taking notes for this book was really tedious, simply because listening to it really carefully, there's nothing in this there's nothing in this book that is not important.
Yeah.
Like there is no time wasted. And
it doesn't feel like that. Like while there's one plot in it, it doesn't feel like there's, like I said, it was only when I sat and thought about it, like what happened in this book that it clicked. So it doesn't feel like it as you go.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, which is why also like I think me having all these notes is really important because in order to talk about it and then in order to actually make sure we have everything noted to talk about the future books. It's gonna be important because it's a lot to keep track of. There are a lot of moving parts, and also these are like my favorite books. So I went overboard. I'm sorry. I can't. Whatever. I wanted to, and like we're talking about my favorite books. What can I say? I went nuts. I want to talk about them. I got somebody to read it and sit down and listen to me. So here we are.
You're excited.
I am excited. Yeah.
How did? Because I know that I had to concede something. Like I had to bribe you with doing the series next. What on earth was I bribing you for again?
You bribed
or were you bribing me?
Okay,
Either
so
there was extortion or bribery somewhere.
There was so there was negotiation both ways. So what we said was we were going to do this series, and then we would finish Shifters.
I'm sorry.
Be quiet, Siri.
Siri feels bad for me.
That's right.
Then we would finish Shifters, and you could force me into doing all of the novellas, and then we would do
not the novellas, the Wildcat series.
The Wildcat
That's right, because there's no audio books for the Wildcat series.
Yes, you could force me into that. If we did this first, I was like, I will do that if we can do this first, and then we can do the Red Queen's War series.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's my favorite series. I love this series to bits, but that is my favorite series, I want to say. And I really want to be able to do the thing where I hold up the individual books, but I don't have the individual hardcovers for this series. I only have like the big special edition one, and I'm not willing to like move that.
That's fine.
So, but I'll be able to do it for the Red Queen's War series. So there you go.
Yeah, we are talking about Prince of Thorns.
Yes, by Mark Lawrence.
By Mark Lawrence. First book in the Broken Empire Trilogy. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Happy days.
Happy days.
I remembered. Yay.
So, we haven't had to do this in a long time. So the first thing we're going to talk about is characters.
Yes.
Characters. So we'll start
with Jorg.
We'll start with Jorg.
Our anti-hero, because he is the protagonist, but he's not. He is absolutely the quintessential anti-hero.
So, and I guess this is also like a good time to talk about like the Cruel Prince as well. So in the Cruel Prince, when we were saying like we didn't know if Jude was meant to be evil, and I was comparing it to this book where that Jorg is meant to be a douche nozzle. That Jorg is meant to be a douche. And by a douche, I mean like I've seen people compare him to Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Joffrey, no, because Joffrey's one, not as smart.
Well,
I don't think. And then two, Jorg is worse.
Well, not just that. Biggest thing with Jorg is he's not unnecessarily cruel.
No, he's not.
When he's cruel, it serves a purpose. I've never seen him do anything, at least so far, at least in this book. There is not a single thing besides maybe the bit at the end with the count.
Yeah.
Bit. Besides that, every bit of cruelty or malice or anything he does serves a purpose.
He even there's a lot of points in the book where he even holds himself back. And also he is like the definition of, I would say, lawful evil. Pushed to like level 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. And
whereas Joffrey was just a sadist. He got off on causing pain.
Yeah. So the other I guess to talk about Jorg, I want to talk about this real quick. Because I've seen watched some review videos of people who don't like this book, and they don't like it because we're stuck in Jorg's head. And because they find the things that he does like really reprehensible, and I get that.
But
also, I find it really interesting. I also find Jorg he's a terrible person, but I find him really entertaining. And there's so many things that he does, and then he says he's entertaining. Also, these are the most quotable books ever. Actually, So like I put quotes and stuff in the
Yeah.
front of my books. The quote for Elder comes from this book, actually.
Which one?
It is. I actually squeaked because I have no shame. It's when he's talking about the bishop, and he says, "In the end, it seems we're just toys, easy to break and hard to mend."
Yes.
That's what he says, and I was.
Yep, and you know what? That's very fitting for Elder.
It is, and I was like, "This is mine now." And I slapped it in the front of the book. I mean, it's not out yet. I mean, you know, whatever. But also, like, he's a fun person. So Jorg is 14 in this book, but you also see him a lot when he's 9 and 10. 9 for very briefly, but 10 mostly.
Yeah, because he's also 13 in this book, but also, again, very briefly.
Yeah, at the very, very beginning, he's 13, and then he turns 14.
Yeah. So, and one thing I found and I think this might have also been part of why the lack of subplots was hidden as well, because, yeah, we have like multiple chapters of present day, and then we flash back 4 years, and then we come back to now for a few chapters, and then we flash back 4 years, and, you know, it's this back and forth between the two. And, yeah, the flashbacks are like the origin of the current adventure we're on.
Yeah,
but
and they're also always really relevant to what's happening.
Yeah.
So
you know, it's done well.
Yeah, it's done really well. It's always like, here's information that you're gonna need for like what's about to happen next. Okay, bye. So it's not like overdone. They end when like you don't need any more information. And then it just like, and you know, leave you alone. So yeah, and Jorg is somebody who, like, at the very beginning of the book, he says, by the time 15 comes around, I'll be king, is what he says to you, the reader, at the beginning of the book.
Yes.
And
because
Jorg is not fucking around.
Yeah, because one of the things as well, like with Jorg, what led up to that as well was he's killing a farmer type thing. Was it a farmer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, you must be only 17 summers, boy, or 15 summers, or 15 summers.
Yeah.
And Jorg's like, well, you're 2 off type thing. Like, I'm 13, just so you know. But he is at 13. He's already 6 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's still looks like a teenage boy, but 6 feet tall. So he tall, he pretty. That's what we know mainly about his appearance. He's covered in scars. He's tall. He's pretty. He's got dark blue eyes.
Yeah.
But he looks a bit older than he is. It's really weird also knowing that this book, especially like the opening scene, knowing he's 13 in it.
Yes, because like I said, we're going to talk about really fucked up stuff. And this is where a lot of people, if you read a lot of the rage reviews, and actually these rage reviews are why I was like, I have to read this book, which sounds kind of weird. But whenever like people get really mad at something, I'm like, I want to read it and see what's up. So the rage reviews were part of it, but people got to like this first part and they get like really angry. So you don't see it happen on screen. He just talks about it.
Yeah, he's like, so we just did that, and we're going to do some more of it.
He talks about how he did a rape-a-doodle.
And he was annoyed because she wouldn't stop crying and screaming through it.
Yeah.
So then he set her on fire when he was done.
Which is rude. Like, he shouldn't have done that. But, like, you know, whatever. He's not real, so it doesn't, like, it matters. But fuck it. Like, what are you going to do?
Okay, contextually as well. Okay, this is set in ye old medieval sword-wielding times. Well, there's sword-wielding shit. Yeah, they all have their swords and stuff.
Yeah,
it's that kind of setting. It's your typical.
For the setting, because I read the Red Queen's War series first, because that's set in like the top of, I'll just show you the map real quick. I'm just going to share my screen.
I will say one thing with this is
sorry.
The way that the terms that they use and all that stuff, and the names of some of the places and everything, it kind of feels like an alternate history. Is it an alternate history?
No.
It feels like one.
Sort of. So the Red Queen's War series is set you start off in Red March. It's set in the same place, but you start off in Red March, which is part of Italy. And the way that everything's described, it sort of reminded me of like the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Which is why I really liked it, because I don't really like super duper medieval setting type of high fantasy. Like I just get annoyed with it. So that's part of why I liked it. So it feels like past medieval. Like everything's a little bit more connected than it would have been like in Dark Ages medieval times. So
I get.
So that's about how it feels. But we'll get into more about the setting when we get into the plot, because I have a lot of notes about it.
Okay.
I have a number of notes about things that are important to pay attention to when you're talking about the setting. Yeah. So, but then there's also, I guess getting into characters, there's his dad, King Oladan, who is his dad.
Yes.
There's Count Renar, who is the count who ordered the killing of his mother and his brother. It's also Jorg's and him. It's also Jorg's uncle.
Yes. But we don't find that out until like the end.
Yeah, you don't find that out till the end, but it's a thing.
Yeah, because he's always just referred to as the count this, the count that, and he gets there and he just walks up and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down. And he's just like, hello, uncle. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, you're like, wait, excuse me? And then there's also the Nuban. Okay, so Jorg is like running with his band of mercenaries. So that's who we're going through right now. So then there's the Nuban, who is like he's from like a deeper part of Africa. He's black, and
what's Africa called in the book? Is it Afrique?
Yeah, Afrique.
Yeah,
but
he's still referred to as African. Oh, sorry, African.
Yeah,
African.
So
it's a long A.
And he had like the Nubian has a crossbow, and it has like all these pagan symbols, like the symbols of his pagan gods engraved on it, all that kind of stuff. And then you have Sir Macon, who was captain of the palace guard, and we'll get into this too. But when Jorg was like 10 and Jorg yeeted from the palace, we'll get into how all that happened. Sir Macon yeeted after Jorg and then didn't come back.
Yeah, and he just spent the last 4 years chilling out with Jorg.
Yeah, and then there's Reich, who is just one of the guys in the thing. He's tall. He's like 7 feet tall. Then there's Father Gomst, who is a priest in the palace.
Yeah.
But you meet him not in the palace, and we'll go over that too. And there's Tutor Lundist, who is Jorg's tutor. Yeah. Taught him a lot of stuff.
He's the flashback tutor.
What's kind of interesting about this is that a lot of the side characters are not very deep because Jorg does not connect with other human beings. So it kind of feels like the side characters just are really shallow, but they're really not.
But that said, it's only when you examine it that they feel shallow. They don't feel like the Nuban, for example, didn't feel like a superficial character when reading it. It's just when you try and think about his defining characteristics, you're like, okay, he's an African man with a crossbow, I guess. That's all I know.
Is, like, when you actually get into like his personality, he's like way deeper than a lot of the other characters because Jorg actually gives a shit about him.
Yeah, he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he does not want to. He does not like this. But when you're actually looking through Jorg's head, and you're like, when you're in his head and you're seeing the Nuban through his eyes, then you actually see like all the little nuances of him. Same thing with Sir Bacon, because those are like the two people that you can argue that Jorg cares about.
Those are his buds.
Yeah, those are his buds. But then when you actually look at the other people in his other road brothers,
yeah, he's just like meh.
He's like, you're tall, you're fat, I don't give a fuck.
You're ugly, you have a lisp.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what's the lispy dude's name?
I've read this book a number of times. I forget.
We showed us call him Mr. Lisp.
I know that he's lispy dude. I didn't write down anything he says.
Okay. He seems to be one of the few brothers who, because Jorg seems to be leading them to an extent. I don't know if he actually is their official leader, but he does lead them. And Lispy Dude seems to be one of his, I guess if he were to have a council of people who advise him on appropriate next steps, Lispy Dude would be one of those.
Yeah, because he's one of the people who talks, who we actually get lines from.
Yeah, but then there's the other. It's the 7 foot tall dude that's the one that's just like, I hate you, Jorg, I hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's all my gold, Jorg? And it's just like this never ending thing of just shut up, dude.
Yep.
Go away.
Okay, so I think we can get into plot because any other characters we'll run across and we can talk about it there. So, with all of that said, let's jump in. So we open with Jorg doing a murder and describing how it gives him an adrenaline rush, and then we've just pillaged a thing, and then he does a rape-a-doodle, and then the farmer calls him a boy, and he's not a big fan of that, and then he does by the time 15 comes around, I'll be I'd be a king, and then he just tortured the whole place. Yeah, and then they left after burning the village. Oh, it's Brother Gent. He's whining.
Is that Lispy Dude?
I think so. He's whining, and he wants to kill the farmer.
No. Brother Gent's the one that's like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because I think, give me a second. He's whining, and he wants to kill, like, the farmer. Oh, no. Yeah. Brother Gent is whining, and Jorg wants to kill him. But then he's like, but I'm not going to kill him, because if you kill too many of your men, then, like, you can't lead anybody. So you see, like, your first moment of restraint from Jorg right there.
Yeah, and there's Maggie without fact-checking. Elben is Lispy Dude.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie. So then there's a thing where, like, the Baron's men know where they're... This is just, like, a note. This is more like a thing to just kind of show the dynamic between everybody, but the Baron's men know where they're going. So Jorg lit the fire so that the Baron knows not to follow him, just because like there's only one way to go where they're going along like the Lich Road. So they go onto like the Lich Road and it's really boring. And then they stopped. He's reading a book. It's Plutarch. I only mention this because he mentions Vermilion, and that's where Jowin is from. And that gives me the warm fuzzies every time that comes up. Jowin is the main character from the other series.
Oh, okay.
And he's from Vermilion in Red March.
Fair enough.
And I was like, whatever. Also, the fact that he's reading Plutarch is a thing that matters.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean as well. Like, because also, what's the name of their deity? It's not Jesus, but it's like Jesus.
It is Jesus.
Yeah, but it's not pronounced Jesus.
It's I think it's Jesu is how they pronounced it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I mean as well. Like, it is very much like a mirror world. Well, it is. It's a mirror world because it's Plutarch, Jesu, Roma, Normandy, Florence, many other things. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I know what happened. So like,
what happens?
I think it's interesting. I'll tell you in a minute. Like,
okay,
because it comes up. It's when we actually come across it and I say it out loud, you'll be like, oh.
Okay.
When it comes up in the notes, you'll be like,
oh, is it in the notes?
It's kind of in the notes.
Okay. I skimmed through the notes before.
It's okay. So then we find Father Gomst.
Yes.
And then we suddenly get attacked by dead men. And this is like the first time we hear about the Thorns and his brother William. So before we can
carry on in the present, we have to go back to the past.
Yes. So before we can carry on in the present and deal with the whole dead men thing, we do that. So 4 years earlier, we hear about how they got him out of the briars, and also like what happened, with like his. So what actually happened was like their carriage got attacked, and then Jorg wound up hitting.
One of the guards grabbed Jorg and tossed him out of the carriage, and he landed in a briar bush.
Yeah, in the hook briars, and
yes,
he couldn't get out. So, and also his mother and brother were being murdered, so he was trying to get out.
Well, also mother was being raped to death.
Yes,
and then
that too. And so he's trying to get out, and hook briars also have like poison in them, so like the poison's like going deeper into his bloodstream and all that kind of stuff, which is why he's all scarred and shit. And so they finally, then after all of that happens, after everybody's dead except him, because he's hiding in the hook briar, somebody finally gets him out, and they get him back to the castle and like into an infirmary. And because he is healing from poisonous hook briar, he is hallucinating.
Yep.
And he's having a bad time. And then
it also sounds like this poison has a very long half-life.
It does.
It's not a short half-life poison. It's very long. So
yes.
This is going on for... He's 10 by the time he comes out of it, yeah? Yeah. So it's been weeks, if not months. I don't know how long, but it's a while.
And so while he's hallucinating, he maybe does a murder.
It's not his fault.
He was hallucinating. So this is the first time he kills somebody.
Yeah, and he also has no memory of it. He became lucid again, and there was a dead guy, and he was like, "Oh, well, that happened, I guess."
Yeah, but also later you find out that he becomes quite fascinated with the fact that he did that. Yeah. So, look, if you knew that you killed somebody while you were hallucinating, I don't know, it might have some effect on your 10-year-old psyche.
Especially after witnessing what he had also witnessed, because it was kind of horrific.
Yeah,
like his little baby brother's brains were splattered on a rock. So
right. So so he's having a bad time, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
So then now we're like back to the present, and we're like post the dead men attack. And also you find out in this that after his mother and brother were killed, his dad, bless him, just made like a trade deal with Count Renar.
Yeah, he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll take some horses and some silver, and we'll call it evens.
So Jorg has a really high opinion of his dad.
Until then.
Well, especially after that, as you can imagine.
He was just like, oh, well, no, Dad, that makes sense. Of course, Mum and little William were worth, a couple of fancy horses. Like, makes sense. And then George's sitting there wondering, I wonder if they'd killed me if he would have requested an extra horse.
Yeah. No, just.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not having any of that. No. And so after that, we do like we fight off the dead men, and like the dead men wind up just being like really scared of Jorg. And we don't really know why until later, so we'll save that for, well, you know what? I can't really explain it till later. But yeah, they just wind up being really scared of him. We'll talk about it later. So then Jorg is questioning Gomst about why he's out into, because Father Gomst is literally a priest. So it would be like, why is like a bishop or whatever just out in a place being a bad guy? Like, not a bad guy, but like, why are you out in the place doing a thing?
Yeah, priests don't go on the benches.
Yeah. So he's like, why? And yeah, so then he's like, my father sent you to look at the dead because you'd recognize me. My dad is still looking for me. Clearly, like, the queen is pregnant. Like, you have to confirm the succession. And Father Gomst is just like, ugh! He's freaking out. Like, he's upset and he's freaking the fuck out. Like, the entire time Gomst is on screen, he's just losing his shit and he's freaking out. So that's how that's happening. And then they're drinking because it's his 14th birthday. And then we run into Count Renar's men. And he walks up to them with a white flag, steals a horse, and stabs Count Renar's son.
Yeah, so Count Renar has 2 sons, and now he only has 1.
What a shame. And so now we're back to 4 years earlier. Lundis just hit him because he's not paying attention, and he wants to avenge his mom. Obviously, yeah, he's confused about like why Renar wanted to get rid of heirs and stuff. And in context, once you know that like, Renar is his uncle, this makes more sense because there's a very good reason for Count Renar to want to get rid of Jorg and his brothers, or any potential like brothers that Jorg might have, or whatever. And so it makes sense because not only would Jorg have like a claim to the Ancraft throne, obviously, but Jorg does have a legitimate claim to his throne as well. So that's that. But also, so like at this point, Jorg is just confused about that, but he's also fascinated by the fact that he's done a deed to somebody else. So there's that. So yeah. So now we're back to the present. And they have a prisoner, Sir Renton. And this guy is all mad about the fact that Jorg did a thing under a white flag. He's like, that was rude. And Jorg is like, whatever the fuck, bro. And Renton is like, my family's rich and they'll have me ransom. And Jorg is like, whatever. Jorg is like, no, they won't. Go sit in the fucking corner. And so then he's like, you killed Count Renar's son, Marklos. And he's like, I don't really give a fuck. And then Jorg is like, what was he up to? And Renton is like, well, I don't fucking know. And then Jorg is like, well, I'm going to kill you. God is my witness. And then he tells Renton, yeah.
Read YouTube chat.
What? That Maggie does more prep work than you?
No.
Oh, okay. That's a thing. It just updated for me. I'm sorry. It takes it a second. It's a true though, Maggie. Oh my god. Where was I? Dead air.
I'm sorry.
I totally forgot where I was.
I know, I'm sorry, but I have to stay muted for the most part right now because there's vacuuming happening.
Emojis don't work for you. Okay. So yeah, so then oh yeah, this part amused me just because Jorg says he's gonna kill Renton, God is his witness. And then also this is just like a whole thing where Jorg is like going over like all the ways that he could torture him, and he's like, you know what's worse than being burned alive? And And he's like, I'm worse than being burned alive. And, the guy doesn't really believe him. But he is getting a little scared, so he appeals to Father Gomst. And then Jorg says, Gomst will pray for your soul and forgive me for basically, like, dismembering you. And then Gomst, like, shits himself. He doesn't, but, like, he does.
Yeah.
These are the moments that amuse the fuck out of me. And then...
Jorg is just, that's one of the things that is enjoyable about Jorg. He's just like, you know what, I'm going to do a thing and it's fine and I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, no, he does not. He does not care. And
he's like, if you don't like it, too bad. I'm forgiven.
And then they're like,
punishment.
And then they get into like this argument. And this is like a world building moment where Renton is like, I made a holy vow. I'm going to burn in hell if you make me break it. And Gomst is like, you can't make the poor bastard burn in hell. He doesn't say it like that, but And then Jorg is like, I don't care.
He just shrugs.
He's
literally just like, sucks to be him, I guess.
Yeah. He does not care. And so then, because Jorg would like some information and he's too lazy to torture. I mean, he'll torture this guy if he has to, but he'd rather not, which also I think says a lot about Jorg as a person. If the raping thing doesn't tell you, whatever, raping aside, I think whatever. Okay, moving on.
It is what it is.
Anyway, he sits down and he tells us, the audience, and Sir Renton about the bishop and how he once found a bishop and hammered a nail, basically gave a bishop a lobotomy and like ruined this bishop's life forever. And this is where we get the line, it's like my favorite line in this book, where he says, in the end, it seems we're just toys, easy to break and hard to mend. And that's the line that it's the quote that I'm using for Elder. Yeah. Which is why we just went through that whole tirade for this, just so I could get to that part. And then Renton wets himself and tells Jorg everything. And then Jorg still gives him to the peasants, and the peasants burn him. And then he's like, anyway, let's go home.
No, I want to go see Daddy.
But before we go see Daddy, before we go see Elon Musk, we go 4 years earlier again.
Yeah.
So, for this part, this is where we just see Macon for the first time as captain of the guard, and Jorg spars with one of the older kids, and then you also see the Nuban not for the first time, but like for the first time chronologically. He's being tortured in the dungeon, and you also hear from the torturers that Father Gomst is like, we have to do this because like God will be happy with us, and then also you have to like get the devil out of him if we burn him. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes. Sorry, I was about to say something, but I can't say it right now.
So Jorg breaks everybody out of prison, and now he has his band of road brothers. So then Lundis is having none of this, and then they're all making an escape. And then Lundis gets hit, and then he's just on a heap on the floor. He's bleeding, and he might be dead. And that's all she wrote. That's all we know about that for now. So, yeah. So we're on the way home. He's like, I shouldn't be going home, but I don't know why I'm going to Karath City. Karath City is home, and Karath City, that's where we're going. I'm really scared to read this. Stop.
But that was the reason in the book. That's why they were doing it.
That's true. That is the reason in the book.
But I can't say it right now.
So, God damn it. Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
Right. So they get there, and Jorg is like,
Jorg is Jorg.
Yeah, Jorg is Jorg. And Gomst is shaking in his boots, and Gomst is like, don't you want a bath? And Jorg is like, you say bath one more time, I'm going to kill you. And Gomst is like, he's not kidding. And so...
And everyone's like, no, he is not.
Yeah. Yep. I'm like, no, he's not fucking
We've
kidding.
seen him kill people for less.
Yes. So,
because also now as well, when he's like, oh, let's go home and see daddy, that's when literally all the brothers find out that he is the prince. Yeah. Or does it happen just before then?
I think so.
Yeah, it's around that time. It's well before it's before they start their travel back to daddy's house, but not too long before. Because someone refers to him as prince, and everyone's just like, wait, what?
Yeah, really.
Excuse you? And it's like, oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay then. I guess that's a thing.
I guess we're doing this now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess we're going back to the castle where we were all prisoners, I guess. But we're with the prince, so yay.
Yeah. So Dorg is like, okay, Gomps, you tell him who the fuck I am. And they're like, he's like, so I guess this is Jorg. This is Jorg Yuku. He's back from the dead. And everybody's like, Jorg is back from the dead. Oh my god. So everybody's freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Everybody's
one thing that I did find interesting is because like it takes, because like, you know, they're at around, you know, it takes them a bit. It takes like a good chunk of the day for them to get from him being like, I am Jorg returned from the dead, to when they get to the castle.
Yeah.
Because they get there at like wee hours of the morning, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least it felt that way. It was late. Everyone was sleeping, you know.
Yeah.
But the whole day, though, every village they went through, like someone had literally like just jumped on the horse and just like rode for the castle at high speed, just screaming along the way, Prince Jorg is alive. Because then every single village or whatever that they walked through on the way back, they're like, oh, look, it's Prince Jorg. So, and that kind of amused me because I'm just like, that would actually happen. That's like free texting gossip, like the gossip tree. Like just someone on a horseback screaming.
That's like something going viral on Twitter, but like as best as it can.
Yes. Yeah, it's literally a guy on a horseback just screaming as he rides past people.
Like, oh, really?
Like, so that just amused me because I'm like, that actually would happen though.
Yeah.
That's exactly how that would have happened.
And the other thing too that I just want to note here is that, like, as far as time passage goes, like, it's all good. It's more or less pretty loose.
Yeah.
And it's left like loose enough that, like, you know, it's not a House of Night situation where you're like, what
like
and does it matter?
Yeah, like at this point in the book, from the beginning of the book till now, it could have been 2 days, it could have been 2 months. Who knows? Who cares? Effectively. Like it's written in a way where at least all the present day stuff, it is literally written from start to finish as one really, 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 really long extended scene. Each scene just blends into the next, but it doesn't feel like in Evermore, for example. She's at home and Haven's like, guess who? It's time to go to school. And then suddenly like they're like in third period and it's like, how the fuck did we get here?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that.
No, it doesn't really feel like that. If you think the scene separation is done well enough, and also you still feel like time is passing, but it's not notated in any like really specific way.
I guess the most time or like the most confirmation of time passing we get is after he wakes up after getting stabbed.
Yeah.
Because it's like a month, I think.
Yeah, like you get confirmation of time passing, but it's not like so immediately like necessary. Just because, and I only bring that up just because if you've been a long time viewer of book club, you just know that there are certain book series where we've been like House of Night, where we've been like,
honestly, and we'll say this again, House of Night really could have used a lot more of those vague like X amount of time has passed. You know, it's been a few weeks now. Yay. They really could have used some of that.
Yeah, they really could have used some of that. Like just some vague, like, we don't know how long it's been. Because you know,
or even just time passing in general. I could have used with some time passing in the first place.
or when they did have time pass, you know, like that one time that the three of us got into an argument about how much time had passed. We went back to look and we found out that we were all right because they lied to us in the book
multiple times.
They got it wrong. Because they said it 3 times and got it wrong all 3 times. And so the 3 of us were like, oh, it was this much time. Oh, it was this much time. Oh, it was this much time. None of us were wrong.
Yep. 1 to 3 weeks passed. We just don't know.
It was.
But one thing about this
it was
book
bananas.
as well is, like, okay, even if this, like, it's from the start till like now was like a day and a half, even if it was that right. I know it's longer, like it would make the most sense for it to be longer because they're on horseback and walking. Like it takes time to travel anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
It takes time. But even if it had only been a day and a half by this point, they're not making references to, you know, like last night we all sat around the fire and, you know, told all those stories about the Game of Thrones and this and that and rah, 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 because, like, you know.
When you were with them last night.
Yes, because that was the biggest thing with House of Night. It's like, oh yeah, Stevie Ray and I watch Game of Thrones every night. I'm like, you've been human for 3 days. And you have had 0 downtime since you've been human.
Yeah. Like, what?
We were with you every night. We've been with you since you became human. You have not watched a single episode of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones hasn't even been out. Well, you had flip phones 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like, you haven't actually even had enough alone time away from us to have watched the opening sequence of Game of Thrones.
Actually, I'm wondering like when the last shower was. Like,
huh?
We were with them for so long that I'm like, have they showered? I don't remember watching that.
Well, like, I mean, that's
that is how much time you spend with them, though. Like,
yeah, like, I mean, well, that's the thing. Like in Harry Potter, for example, we're with Harry, I think, for one bath in the entire series. Like 7 years, we're with him for one bath, but that's okay because we're not with Harry every second of every day. In fact, we go months without spending time with Harry. Like there's multiple books where there's like a 2-month time jump. And it's like, I guess he bathes daily, but we don't need to see it. But in House of Night, when we're with you every second of the day, Zoe, we expect to see some toileting happen.
Anyway, another thing that I just want to say is, and this is about like, I guess we can also relate this to the Cruel Prince because this is where I got really confused, and I harped on this a lot, just because I know that this book exists. Where like I was like, is Jude supposed to be a bad person? Because I can't tell because of how the other people are reacting to her and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to how people react to Jorg, people react to Jorg the way that they're supposed to react to Jorg. People are scared of him.
Yep.
People don't like what he's doing. And then also another thing that's important is that there are actually characters introduced with the ability to challenge him.
Yeah.
And they're very specific characters with very specific traits. Like the Nuban can actually challenge him.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's like the Nuban and Macon.
Yeah.
Macon? Yeah. They don't get mad at Jorg. They're just disappointed. Every time he does something naughty, they give him the, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed talk. And Jorg's just like, fuck you, but I'm also upset that I disappointed you, but I don't want to be, so fuck me too. Go away, emotions.
Yeah. And also the other thing that's like really kind of refreshing about that as well is that that's very 14-year-old, which is also nice.
Yes.
Because like that
he's still going through puberty.
Yes, and you feel that. And that like spiral of emotions is very like, aw. Like I know you hate somebody, but like the poor thing.
Yeah.
So like, because I think I saw somebody, like I watched a video today where somebody said that he has no redeeming qualities. And I don't think I'd go that far to say that Jorg has no redeeming character traits.
He's very smart.
He's very smart. And he actually does a lot of self-reflection.
He does.
His conclusions and what he does in this book anyway, because he does a lot of very interesting character development in the next 2 books. But in this book anyway,
I would imagine so.
Yes, it's very interesting. But what happens like in this book, post like self-reflection is not necessarily positive, but he does actually have the ability to go in and like analyze himself and adjust accordingly. So there is that. You know.
Then one of the things that I will say is, and this falls in line with this self-reflection thing. He is under no illusions about himself. Like, he's not like, I'm doing this for a righteous cause, this or that. He's just like, well, no, there's just a game, and I'm just going to play to win. And if I have to torture some people along the way, so be it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just where he's at. He's just like, look, everything's a means to an end. Even the rape, that's all it means to an end. Like, I had a boner. I had to get rid of it somehow. He's under no illusions about what kind of person he is.
No, he's not.
And for a while there, he questions himself, and then he's just like, nah, fuck it. Let's just embrace the thing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about, like, reading a lot of characters where you're kind of confused about, or where you're reading characters that are supposed to be like a little gray, is that they get like self-righteous or whatever, especially like Jude. That was really frustrating. Slash is that they're fairly self-righteous, and they lack a lot of they lack self-awareness. And the thing is like you can have a character with any kind of traits, like even a character that does lack self-awareness. But I think the thing is that you actually have to be aware that you're doing that and adjust everything accordingly.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases people don't actually mean to do that. So I think that's usually the problem. Whereas here, everything's really intentionally done, and you can tell that, it's actually supposed to be this way, because all the characters that are introduced are reacting to Jorg in a very specific way, and that matters, especially with a protagonist like this. So, yeah. Anyway. We're at the point where we are back at Krath City. He looks to all his brothers, and he's like, no raping, pillaging, or killing. You can be hanged for that. So don't do that. It's not nice.
Yeah.
I'll leave you alone. Do a stop it. And then so just he, Gomst, and Macon go to Tall Castle. Because Gomst is the priest, Macon used to be captain of the palace guard, and Jorg is Jorg. So nobody else could go. The words builder stone are important later. That's the thing. Bye.
Okay.
So then 4 years earlier, they stay a day in the city, but Jorg like eats with the Nuban because he's black, so he'd be noticeable. So they eat. And he's also not scared of Brother Price, who is who's Reich's brother.
Yeah.
So that's a thing too. So Jorg asks how they all got taken, and then the Nuban tells him about the Dream Witch. This is also important. So this is also where we can circle back to the dead men thing. At one point, you hear somebody say that the reason why the dead men ran from Jorg is because there was like a hand of like darkness on him. And it's implied that it might be like the Dream Witch.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. So like the Dream Witch, so the Nuban says that the Dream Witch kept them tied in their dreams.
While the hunter came and got them.
Yeah, while the hunter came and got them.
Yeah.
So, and then while the Nubian is talking to him, he's like, children shouldn't fucking be like you. That's terrifying.
Yeah, because Jorg's like, I want to kill a man, and Nuben's like, but you're 10. Like,
And
effectively, that's the conversation. I want to kill someone, but you're 10.
And Jorg is like,
Your point? And the Nuben's like, go play hopscotch, please.
yeah,
You're 10.
yeah, basically. So Jorg is like, so then at night, like Jorg is dreaming, it's thundering. He's like yelling, you're not my mother. This is the dream witch, by the way. She's like pretending to be Jorg's mother. He wakes up and there's a guy with a crossbow, and he's like up and actually about because he was like sleepwalking. But the crossbow is like pointed at the Nubian, and so he like it jumps on the guy, and then the Nubian wakes up, and then he does it, deads him. So teamwork makes the dream work. Everybody, if you want to kill hunters. Yay.
Hey,
yeah.
you can leave now. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
I think you should see yourself out.
Thanks. I'm a fucking wordsmith, dude. I don't think I took Ritalin today. Leave me alone.
This is fun. Rhyming is fun.
Really? That's the thing? That's not a saying where you guys are?
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. Because it's a saying here.
Oh, okay. Okay, then it's less cringy. Go away then. No, not you. Go away till I go away. There we go.
I didn't come up with that.
Well, it sounded like you did just now. Just saying.
Oh, God. All right. So we're back in the present. We're in the castle. Macon and Goms have been led elsewhere. And Jorg's wondering what's about to happen. He gets asked to take a bath again. And I was like, he's going to kill you. And he's like, I want to see the fucking king, motherfucker. And some guy is like, King Aladdin is asleep right now. So he threatens the guard because, Jorg.
Yeah. I am Prince. I demand to see Daddy.
Yeah.
And God is like, too bad.
So then Sages wants to see him. So we go to the library.
Yes.
Yeah, we reminisce about the library. Sages is like 40-ish, probably Middle Eastern. And then Jorg walks up to him. And then
He's dodgy as fuck.
Dodgy as fuck. Also, you find out that Plato is here. And that Plato is ancient, like super ancient in this time. Okay, bye. I'm just throwing that out there for no reason in particular. So 14-year-old Jorg is taller than this 40-year-old man. Just another emphasis on how tall Jorg is. So then Sages also says you have a lot of Oladen in him. You're an interesting young man. Indeed he is. And then when he's led to his room, like Jorg is like super tired because Sages has spelled him to be tired. And so he's like, get Macon in here. Just be like, not in here, but like here, because he's like, I'm about to be like fucking unprotected. This is bad. So then he wakes up, or he thinks he does. And he's dreaming. And he wakes up, he sees a portrait of his mother. And then basically his mother starts screaming. William is also in the portrait. He starts screaming. They're like, you didn't save us. Jump out the window. And so Jorg is thinking about jumping out the window. And then Macon starts yelling his name. And he wakes up. And then turns out that he, in fact, does have his sword with him. And he is not about to jump out a window. And he's like, oh, that's nice. And then, so, now it's morning. And he's going by the kitchens. And he's like, dead chickens are yummy. So Jorg might be a fan of Chick-fil-A. Whatever. So now we're threatening a hoe, and it's Catherine. I get excited every time this happens.
Yeah,
'cause it's
I'm not gonna lie. This scene is definitely teenage boy because he sees her and he's just like, I'm in love.
yes.
She's just like, what are you? And he's like, let's go to the kitchen to find out, shall we? And she's like, righto. And she just starts walking. And he's like, I love you. Following her.
Yeah, basically. He like instantly falls in love with Catherine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I've got a question.
yeah.
The end result with Catherine, do we like her or not?
I like Catherine.
But okay, sorry. I'll rephrase it. Not is she a likable character, but in terms of Jorg and their relationship, do we like Catherine or not? If we're Team Jorg, do we like Catherine by the end of the series? Because the magic 8-ball in this book, like with how this book ends, you shake it and you're like, do we like Catherine by the end of the series? And it goes, remains to be seen. Because there's hints of it, but then also she's like, how dare you? So. It's not a hard question. Just it's a yes or a no. If you're Team Jorg, do you like Catherine by the end of the series? Yes or no?
I'm gonna go yes.
Okay. Why are you so confused with that?
You'll see. It's complicated. Anyway.
Okay. Yes, as long as Jorg isn't eating the live chickens. I agree, Maggie.
No, he likes them. He likes everything dead. Jorg is very into dead things.
Yes. Which is good. If Jorg was eating live chickens, it would explain a lot, like he's got salmonella like crazy, but he's gone a little bit insane.
So Catherine is Catherine Abscorin, which is like there's Geleth in between Ancrath and Scorin. So
yep.
That's a thing. And also Macon is here, and this is like a thing. I don't know. This was like the first time I picked up on this, but I was like, wait a minute, is Macon supposed to be hot? Because like for a second, Jorg is like Catherine is like Macon does like a thing where he's like, hi, whatever, and then like Catherine like looks at him and he's also like Macon cleans up well, and I'm like, is this man attractive? I'm very confused. Because obviously Jorg isn't like Macon is hot because Jorg is not attracted to men. But
yeah, and he's definitely not attracted to his father figure.
Yeah. But I think Catherine thinks he's hot, and now I'm confused. So
well, I mean, that said though as well, it could also just be, Jorg still hasn't had his bath. He's not wearing his Prince fineries. So he's a bit gross, and then so she's just walking along going, you stink, you really, really stink, and I think you're here to steal shit. And then there's like this clean cut guy, and she's like, oh, well, now we have somebody who is, human. This is nice.
That's
so it could also be that.
It was just the way it was described. I was like, oh, okay. I'm confused. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then like towards the end of it, she's like, wow, you're like scarred. Oh my God, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. Oh,
how did that happen?
Just before you carry on, because neither of them are telling each other who they are.
Yeah. They're
well.
both being real shady about it. So she's like, why would you like stay in the hook briar? Like, ew, like you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to do that.
She's like, you're not supposed to like stay. You're not supposed to like will in it. Like, what are you, stupid? And then I was like, like every time I read this, like I know he doesn't do it, but every time I read it, I'm like, Catherine, shut up. He is going to kill you.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to be like, well, it's a normal response for someone to try and fight free when they're watching their mother get raped and their little baby brother get murdered. Just so you know, it's pretty normal reaction.
And so then she finds out, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I'm your stepbrother." And then she's like, "Actually, I'm your Aunt Catherine."
Headphones.
Every
Give me a
time.
minute. Okay,
Every
I know,
time.
right? Also, we are talking about just in Twitch chat asked. We are talking about Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Why is my mic just mute? Now I'm really confused. My whole computer's just gone fuck you up. Can we hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. It just popped up on screen saying, your mic's been unplugged. I'm like, no, it hasn't. Why are you doing this? I need a new computer. I need new headphones.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we have Streamlabs.
Yeah, we do have Streamlabs linked in the description.
Yes.
So
just so you know. Get me some new headphones, please.
Yeah. So yeah, so then now we'll just skip to this. So now we're right outside the throne room, and we're being announced at the throne room. And then
yes.
so Macon announces them first. This isn't the herald. This is just Macon. And Macon puts Jorg before Catherine.
Yes.
And just to be like, this is Jorg, the heir to the throne. Fuck you.
Yes, you are the queen's sister. He is the heir.
Yeah. Although the herald does not do that. The herald doesn't even announce who he is. He just has them go in. So then Jorg's whole this is a game line is a big deal here. And Jorg's line there, his quote there is always it's just a game, and if you lose the game, what have you lost? Well, you've lost the game. So he says that a couple times in this book. So
yeah, I will say you can tell that I mean, I don't know if it's just hardcore coincidence, but like I think it's later on when he's talking to the other dream witchy dude. Like the other witch, so not Sages, because like I think by this stage as well we've established Sages is a witch of some sort.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know if it's been explicitly stated, but it's heavily implied.
Well, he puts a spell on him to go to sleep, so
that's right. Yeah. But the other one that's in the book, I think it's the conversation with him. They're talking about the Game of Thrones and the Game of Thrones and the Game of Thrones. And there's this one part of it that sounds so much like when Cersei is talking to Ned Stark in season 1 / the first book, depending on which one. But it's sound like I don't think it's word for word the same, but in terms of intent of the conversation, it is word for word the same, I guess. I was just like, I don't know if that's coincidence or if he's watched Game of Thrones recently. When was this published?
It was published in 2011, I want to say.
So Game of Thrones was a thing by that stage. Okay. Yeah, like I don't know if it's just coincidental or if he'd read the book or seen the episode or whatever, but it just sounded like almost exactly the same type thing. And I was just like, I mean, I guess it's fair, especially considering the fact that this whole book, he keeps on referring to the entire situation as a game, and he's playing a game of chess type thing, and he's always whatever, and I guess effectively it is a Game of Thrones, much like Game of Thrones. So I guess it makes sense that there would be some sort of similarities between the two.
Well, and his ultimate goal is to unite the Broken Empire. So
yeah,
there's that as well. I watched Game of Thrones through, not all the way through, once. So I can't, and I've never read it, so I can't say.
Yeah.
I don't know. even though this is like my favorite, even though these are my favorite books, I'm an urban fantasy kind of person. For the most part.
I like the both. I like both.
Yeah, like you said, I tend to just not really like the whole medieval thing. But because the Red Queens were read to me like Renaissance Europe, and that's one of my favorite things, I was like, ooh, I'm into it. And then I got thrown a curveball, but I was like, I'll stick through it, and I liked it. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so we see King Oladan, who is his dad. So
Yes.
and the new queen is here, and her pregnancy is mostly hidden when she's sitting down. And then Sages is near this glass tree that Sages is fond of this glass tree.
Yes.
That's just a thing. And we see Sir Galen, and we don't like him for reasons.
Yes.
Sir Galen's a meanie butt. And he's like 30. So Jorg is just like father, and then also he had a speech, but he like loses it, and then dad just starts talking over him like a douche nozzle. And then Macon gets yelled at, and he's like, I would have expected an incompetent person to come back in like 2 weeks, but you took 3.5 fucking years. What the hell?
Yeah.
So we're getting bitched at, and then he's like, Sir Macon, wouldn't you like to come back as captain of the guard? And Macon's like, I smell a trap. No. And then Daddy-O's like, well, indulge me anyway. So Macon, who has been out in the field for like over 3 years, is rusty with the tedious, technical, formal swordplay that Galen is good at. So he's not going to fight dirty like he would normally.
Yes.
He's going to try to be a good boy. And he does that, and it starts not going well. So Jorg actually has a moment, and you see this, and this is another thing where like you see another side of Jorg where he's not. I'm not going to say he's not a bad guy. He's a bad guy. You see the practical, the lawful side of the lawful evil in Jorg. Where
I think with this bit, Jorg convinces him. I think Jorg like convinces himself it's more for like strategical reasons why he does this. But I think internally he's just like, Daddy, like as in Macon. It's like, no, I can't lose you too.
Yeah, I think he's like, I don't want to lose Macon, but he's also like, but strategically. But what he actually says is, you know, like you have to be willing to make sacrifices, but only when they make sense. So. Essentially, he's not willing to lose Macon. Macon's a good guy to have on your team, and this is dumb. Like, this is the worst place to lose him. I'm not doing it. So, Jorg is at this glass tree next to Sages, and he's like, fuck this tree. So, he eats the tree over onto, like, a bunch of nobles, and it shatters, and it gets, like, glass in everybody, and it's very... You can imagine what would happen if a bunch of glass just shattered on top of you, and you had to, like, get it out of you. It would be very bloody and gross. So that's what happens. And then Galen starts running after Jorg, and then Jorg winds up shooting Galen in the face with a crossbow.
Yeah,
Jorg has no qualms about fighting dirty.
Yeah, because before that as well, he goes, but father... Macon is actually a skilled fighter. He just is too honorable to use his correct fighting skills, so I shall do it. And father is like, no, you shall not. And he's like, but I shall. I shall indeed. And if I die, then at least, you know, your new whore's kid will definitely be next in line for the throne. Like, win-win.
Oh, yeah. How did I not quote that?
Yes, because Daddy is remarried.
I have this written down. This is what I wrote. This is my note. He whole ass says, if I die, succession will be clear and your scorn whore will be rid of me. Then he says, no offense to the queen, like to the queen, like a fucking savage.
Yeah, he's like, that whore's boss, it'll be fine. No offense, sweetheart.
Yeah, he's like, no. Yeah, he's like, no offense, sweetie. And it's like,
and she's just like, she's like pearl clutching to the.
It's like,
because also she's not like, she's probably about, based on the description and everything, she's about 5 months pregnant at this stage because she's just starting to get a baby bump.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, sorry. That's a good moment. So dad's all offended. And he's like, yeah, and then he says, kill this devil, for he's no son of mine. And then Jorg is being pursued by Galen. And then we kill him. Yeah, I said he's dead. # whoops. And then his dad just starts laughing like a fucking weirdo. And then he's like, everybody get the fuck out. I need to talk to my child. Although he doesn't say that. He doesn't acknowledge him as his son. And then also, as Catherine's walking out, she looks at Jorg and she's like, oh my God, you're a murderer.
He's like,
I mean, you know, whatever. So Sages is all sad about the tree, and then Sages is like, my king, you're not safe. And then the king is like, fuck off. So Aladdin says to Jorg, I want Galeth. And Jorg is like, but dude, all right, whatever. And then he's like, I'll do it. And then
meanwhile, this is effectively a suicide mission. Like, the castle that he is sent to take is an impregnable castle. Like,
yeah.
they're just like, Jorg's just like, everyone is just like, shit, this is a suicide mission.
Well,
like, effectively,
Jorg says to Dad, can I have an army? And Dad says, you can have the Forest Watch, which is 200 men. He needs about 10,000 men to actually do this. So Jorg is like, okay.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, we're gonna die. And Jorg is just like, au contraire, mon frère. Au contraire. And then we find out what he meant by that. But yeah, effectively, Dad's just set him up to do this to get him dead.
Yes. So now Macon, Jorg, and like all the brothers are in a tavern, and Macon is like, have you ever even seen Castle Red, which is the castle in Galeth that they're going to take? Yeah. And Macon is like, this suicide, obviously, and here's how much you need. And then there's a whore, and then it's like playing past the whore around where Macon is like tosses her on the floor, and then she's like, I can show you how it's like with girls, and then Jorg like does it. That's the thing. You also find out this is the first time that he's done sex and not raped someone.
Yeah, he's like, it's actually quite different when they're willing, even if you have to buy their willingness. Kind of like it.
Anyway, so the next morning, he has a book on her back. He's not very nice about it. And so there's a valley in Galeth, like in the Badlands, Lacrotia. Is it Lacrota? And then they're monsters who talk like human. And then he says in his experience, monsters who talk like humans are humans. And this is a builder text, which again is important.
Wait, I'm just reading that note there. So is their civilization like an advanced grounded civilization type thing? Like, did a thing like that happen? Are they futuristic grounders?
Sort of.
I'm not saying like the rest of the plot of the 100 is relevant to this. I'm just saying, like, was there a thing and they survived it, but they've gone back to like archaic ways?
We'll get to it. So he's been taught builder speech, and so he's looking at like this old builder text, and it says top secret at like the top and the bottom, but there are also like words that he doesn't know. So even though he knows like builder tongue, basically,
he doesn't know what they mean.
He doesn't know what these words mean. So it's like how you speak English, but like if you saw like advanced chemistry words, you'd be like, what?
Or I guess because I can read. I mean, like, because also German, for example, uses the English alphabet, same alphabets between the two, so you can read German. Just doesn't mean you understand it.
Right. So he sees neurotoxicology, carcinogen, mutagen, but he knows what weapons, stockpile, and mass destruction mean. Also, all of this matters, even like the Wheel of Oshheim. So this is another reason why, like, even though there aren't like subplots, it's like stuff to keep in mind. So we also get like binary weapon leakage. I forget how this word's pronounced, but then it's like, oh, there are little red people in the castle red. That's why it's called that. From toxic water and stuff like that. Also, Macon says to the whore, "You've been royally fucked," which amused me. I really hope somebody said that to Kate Middleton or the other one at some point. Is that awful?
I don't. You know what? I could see younger Harry saying it to like literally everyone he slept with.
Okay. I know I'm American and like classless, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
But am I allowed to have those thoughts? I don't know.
Yeah, you're allowed to have those thoughts, sure. I mean, like if the Queen likes to photobomb people, you're allowed to make a joke about being royally fucked, so it's fine.
All right, cool. So he's led out of Rath City to the Forest Watch. This is one of my favorite fucking scenes in the book. They get to the watch, and he's like, "Dup, I want to see people." That's a quote. And he walks up to the Watchmaster, and he's like, "Yo, but do your men like die for you?" And he's like, "Fucking excuse me?" And he's like, "Yo, what's your name?" And this guy's like, "I'm Kevin." And this was especially amusing to me. There's a little backstory on the name Kevin for me. This one time at a house party, there was a kid named Kevin. And you know how sometimes people look like Jesus? This kid named Kevin looked exactly like Jesus, but also he was the nicest kid ever. He was also like dead drunk. I mean, like he was.
So he was literally Jesus then.
Yeah.
And not drunk.
He was Jesus and like so drunk that we were like, it was literally he was so drunk and spacey that we were like, "Kevin, do you want water?" And Kevin was like, "Yeah." And it was like, oh God, Kevin's gonna die. So I was like, "Oh my God, Jesus is here." The first time, whatever. Anyway, so Jorg is like, "Okay, Watchmaster, tell Kevin to jump off this cliff." And the Watchmaster's like, "What?" And then Jorg tells him again, and he's like, "If you say what again, bad thing." And then the Watchmaster is like, "Jump." And he's like, "No. Once more, with feeling." And then he was like, "Yup, jump, damn you," which I loved. I don't know. I
love the narrator like had his voice cracking and shit.
Yeah, it was great. It's good. It's really good. Also, the narrator for this is good. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a good narrator. So like obviously Kevin doesn't do this, and so Jorg is like, "I guess your men wouldn't die for you, so you're not useful to me." So Jorg just pushes him off a cliff. Yeah, and then he's like, and then now Jorg like grabs Kevin by the throat, not like dangles him, but like all but dangles him over the falls,
like,
and he's like
pushes him back, so he's like leaning back on the heel, like on his heels type thing.
And Jorg is like, "You're gonna die for me when I tell you to die for me, but I will give you a good reason to do so." And Kevin is like, "You fucking got it, bro." And so we've saved Kevin, and now we have a new leader of the Forest Watch. So that's
Hashtag
nice.
save Kevin.
Hashtag save Kevin. So, and also Jorg is actually pretty happy that they didn't jump for no good reason.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh well, at least they're not dumb."
Right, because probably like what would have made Jorg happiest is if the leader of the Forest Watch would have been like, "There's no good reason to waste men on jumping off of cliffs."
Probably, yeah.
That's probably what the guy should have said, but that's not what he said. So,
yeah, or my men will die for me when there's a point to it.
Yeah,
Either or. Like just something along the lines of "this is pointless."
Yeah, one of those two responses or something along those lines probably would have saved his life. But that's not what happened. So
he was too busy cracking his voice, screaming, "Jump!"
So we got pushed off a cliff. What are you gonna do? So they go back to
what do you want?
So they go back to Tall Castle after we settled all that, and then Sages, "Why'd you run, Jorg?" "I didn't run. For 4 years. 4 years ago you ran. But why? To kill a guy? But did you kill him? No. Why?" And then it's like, I don't fucking know, you douche. And then is more or less what he says. And then he's like, but as you came closer to home, you came under my protection, and I can give you your will back. And George is like, what?
Yeah, well, George is offended. He's like, how absolutely dare you? I control my fucking self. And he's like, hey, if that's what you choose to believe, 'tis on you.
But now we have doubt. So anyway, and so now he's like, Gomsty, you're coming with me. And then Gomst is like, we shouldn't take the Nuben though. Like, let's burn him. And Jorg is like,
how about we don't?
Yeah, how dare you? So yeah, so anyway, so then Gomst is taking confession from the men, and he's not happy about this. And then
it's taking confession from a bunch of rapists.
Yeah. So he's a little disturbed, is all.
Yes.
Because probably what he's used to is like, oh, I stole a loaf of bread.
Or like the course being like, I fathered yet another bastard.
Yeah.
You know, like stuff like that. You know, like he's not just like, you know, a priest in the capital city of like their little, are they countries? Are they referred to as kind of
no, but we can go with it.
Well, region, I guess. But he's actually from the castle. So pretty much the main people he's taking confession from would be the king.
Yeah.
The visiting court aristocrat type people, and maybe the servants. Although he probably has a lesser priest take their confession.
Yeah.
So it's all like, I fathered yet another bastard, or I coveted my sister's jewelry, you know.
And now it's like, I brutally raped a bitch and burned down a city, and it's like, oh my god.
I raped a bitch and then slit her throat halfway through. She was screaming too loud.
Yeah, he's very scandalized right now. And like, for whatever reason, like, even though I should feel bad for Father Gomst, he doesn't like the Nuben, so I'm with Jorg on this one.
Yeah, like, this is a book where, like, you don't necessarily like the moral people, and you don't necessarily dislike the incredibly amoral, like, sketchy as fuck people.
Yeah, because it's like, then when you're actually taking a step back, you're like, wait a minute, should I dislike him actually? Because, like, doesn't it make sense for him to be a little scandalized? Whatever.
Kind of like those movies where, like, for some reason, Gone in 60 Seconds is the only one coming to mind, right? They're stealing a shit ton of people's cars. They're very, very expensive cars. And you are team thief, not team cop. It's like that, but on a much more group. Like,
it's so much worse though. Because like, I'm like, why am I? I'm like, I shouldn't be team Jorg, but I am. Whatever, man.
It is what it is, I guess.
I can't help it. I'm Team Jorg. I really love a well-done anti-hero. And this is not like an anti-hero like Han Solo is an anti-hero.
No, because he still has some sort of moral code.
Right. Like,
George is just like, his code is, does it serve a purpose towards my end goal? Yes or no?
I feel like,
let's do. If no, then let's not.
I feel like there are two types of anti-heroes. There's like anti-hero, like Han Solo is an anti-hero where it's actually a good guy, but like he's a little rugged, you know? And then there's like,
he's not actually, he may be a thief, but he's not a bad person.
Right. He's like Aladdin, but if Aladdin was edgy, right? And
Aladdin in space.
Yeah. And then there's Jorg. And
one thing I am upset about with the remake of Aladdin is they got rid of the harem and made it schoolgirls. You know, in the beginning when he's singing his one jump song.
Yeah,
that's not the harem anymore. And like the mistress of the brothel, madam of the brothel, doesn't like to start hugging him and shit. He's in a classroom now.
That doesn't even make okay, whatever. Anyway.
Is anyone else amused though that all the prostitutes in that know who Aladdin is? Like he's gone to that brothel a few times.
Now that you
I
say
like I
that,
look at Aladdin coming through the window again. Hey, bud.
yeah, no, like now that you say it, and then so then right, so now we're like going to Geleth, and then we get to like the actual valley, and we don't waste any time. We just like get to the cliffs and shit, and so there are monsters, and we're like waking up, and they're being flanked, and it's like, oh, it's just a child. And then there's a monster behind her, and she's like glowing, and she's like weirdly telepathic, and it's like, oh my god! And it's actually like kind of takes you a few seconds to like get oriented with this.
Yeah.
So, and he startles the monster. His name's Gorgoth, like a dick, and he's like described as like really like a deformed human. He's like really tall, and you can see like a lot of his like muscle and bone. Is how he's described.
So it is like a grounded situation.
Yeah, he's
just confirm that a nuclear apocalypse happened, bae.
yeah, it was a nuclear.
Thank you. Paige, check out what Maggie just said in chat.
It's gonna take a second.
Oh, you're looking at it through thingy, are you?
Yeah, I am. I don't.
There we go.
Yeah, Tall Castle is a skyscraper, or it used to be a skyscraper. It's like the underground concrete part of a skyscraper. That's why it's like so boring.
Oh, and that also makes sense. So, because he does say as well at one point that it's actually deeper than it is more like tall type thing. So it's like, is the deeper bits like the underground car park?
It's like, how like skyscrapers have like really deep foundation?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So like the foundation of a skyscraper has to go like really far into the ground.
Yeah, to make sure it doesn't do a topple.
Right. Yeah. So, and then also like there's just not the top bit of it anymore.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So, and you get like a date on this as well. So like, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
And yeah, so like even after the Catholic Church can survive everything, including nuclear apocalypse.
Yeah.
Which honestly makes sense. I mean, so do like a bunch of other religions, but the fact that the Catholic Church is like still super powerful amuses me. So yeah, and so then he aggroes Gorgoth, and then the little girl, her name is Jane, and this is another character who actually like is able to call Jorg on his shit, which is another like good thing. She's like, why would you do that? And Jorg is like, I don't fucking shut up. And then he was actually thinking to himself, and he's like, because he scared me, and I don't want to talk about it. And so then we see all the rest of the Crota people.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good moment for him to have.
Okay, so I'm just looking at one thing just for reference. Where is it? Okay, so Ancrath is France. Okay, sorry. I was just looking at where Ancrath is. It's in France.
It's where like France and Germany-ish, sort of.
Yeah, I'm looking at a layover. It's up near where France and Belgium meet.
Okay. What'd you major in? History? Western civilization? I'm just really bad at it.
Don't judge me. Oh, yeah, I guess. Well, that's also kind of over at. Okay, so it looks like Ancrath is like
right
the bottom half, because I'm looking at a map of. Actually, I'll just bring it up.
Okay.
Share screen, because it's like his map overlaid with Google Maps. Okay, application window.
Because I think his map also has like some flooding on it too.
Yeah. Because the sea levels have. Oh. Okay, it's saying that it's not letting it happen.
You want to send it to me?
Yeah, because I don't know how long this will take for me to sort. Oh, fuck off. It's because I updated my OS since last I screen shared, so I think that's.
And it died. Great. Hi guys. God damn it. I'm so bad at being alone.
I don't like this. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it looks like Aircraft goes France into the bottom half of Belgium and breaks off on the border of Luxembourg.
So I wasn't super wrong.
No, you weren't too wrong.
I was just a little
Germany's still over there.
Yay. TJ's not a complete moron. She's just a little bit of a moron.
And you're not. Yeah, okay. So that. Yeah.
Major, I swear.
Yeah, so I'm guessing, yeah, the sea level has risen because the British, you know.
The poor British.
The British are fucked.
Yeah, the British are fucked.
You know, because when I was looking at the map you did send me and everything, I'm like, okay, there's a place called Scotia around, you know, like Scotland area type thing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there's Normandy, Brit, and a whole bunch of other, like, again, like Roma and so on. I was like, there has to be a connection of some sort.
Yeah, well, that's like the one that was actually something that I really liked when I was originally reading like the Red Queen's War series, because I hadn't seen like the map, but I immediately picked up on like the geography just because of what things were called.
Yeah.
So I kind of had like a general idea of where we were and what was going on.
Yeah, I was getting some, like, not necessarily from the names of places, but at least definitely, again, some of the words were just, and references were just too similar. That's why I was like, is this a thing? And apparently, no, it's a grounder situation without people coming down from space, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, if no one was on the space station and didn't come back down to Earth, this is what the ground would have happened to the grounders. So I feel good about it now.
See, and like what actually happened with me, because like here's the thing, I do not like sci-fi. Like, I don't know why I don't like it, but unless
You know,
it's
like what?
Star Wars, I don't like sci-fi.
Yeah.
Unless it's Star Wars, I don't like sci-fi.
Something's wrong with you.
I just have a really hard time getting into it. I don't know like what it is about sci-fi that bugs me.
I think it also just depends on the sci-fi itself, like the individual one, because it is so broad as well.
Yeah, so like I will say, like when I first realized that that's what was happening, I was like, I don't know about this, but I kept reading, and so as it turns out, as much as I'm typically not a high fantasy person or a sci-fi person, my favorite series is a high fantasy sci-fi series.
Yeah.
So
it's really it is quite different having a high fantasy book set in actual real world.
That's what it's very, yeah, it's interesting. It's really fun. And also like, because I started off with like the Red Queen's War series and it was very like Renaissance Europe-y, at least that's how it read to me anyway. I don't know, I was just really into it, and I was into it enough that I kept going, and I don't know, I really like it. So yeah, it takes a lot for me to like be okay with sci-fi. And yeah, I was cool with it. Also, Mark Lawrence was actually a rocket scientist.
Oh.
which had me sold. I was like, fine. I accept this. Fine. It's fine. Cool. So then, so they get there and Jorg is like, we need to go here. And then they're like, well, have you brought anything? Jane and like the Lakota are like, have you brought anything to barter with? And Jorg is like, well, actually, I did. I brought you God. And so he's like, I'm going to hand over the priest. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's a lot. So, and the Nuban is not happy with Jorg about this. So he like wants to fix it. I said my notes say it's cute. I thought only I would be like, oh, that's cute. I thought it was cute. And then Gorgoth is like, the necromancers are going to eat you, by the way. And Gomst is very excited about being given away. So there's that. And then Jane says to Jorg, when you meet the necromancer, just run. Yeah. So, and then Macon is like, hey, what are we going to do about this dead people thing? And then Jorg is like, hey, Nuban, why are there dead people still alive? And this is when it gets confirmed that this is like a nuclear apocalypse wasteland. So on the day of 1,000 suns, kaboom. So many people pushed through the death door that it like broke, and now their veil is super thin. So now necromancers and magic. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So essentially that's why there was like no magic, and now there's magic.
Which is an interesting way to introduce magic into real world without urban fantasying it. Because this is definitely not remotely urban fantasy.
Yeah, it's high fantasy, but like our world, and also like Renaissance-y, medievally, but also not. It gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Like the setting is cool. Like the setting is cool while still being here. I really like I really like it. I'm into it. So yeah, so then we talk to the kid monsters, and we name them Gog and Magog.
Yes.
And then he's like, Gomst isn't here to get the joke. Gomst isn't here to get the joke because it's a biblical joke. So he's not happy about that, but he is okay with him being gone. So then we like we're like going through some caves, and then there's a necromancer, and she's not very nice. And Jorg is thinking about the fact that he was told to run, but now he's not going to do that. So he walks up and introduces himself, and he winds up in a trance, and then Magog and Gog are actually like fighting, and this makes Jorg feel bad. Yeah. And now we're fighting the necromancer, and there are skeletons and all that fun stuff. And she drinks the blood of the Nuban, and Jorg winds up picking up the Nuban's bow. And then this part is really sad. This actually gets me like every time. Jorg winds up having to shoot the necromancer by shooting like the Nuban, because she has him like in front of her.
So this is a perfect example of he's happy to make sacrifice. Oh, well, not happy, willing to make sacrifices when they're necessary. So he's sacrificing the Nuban to kill the necromancer. But
it's also like a big moment too, because he's really upset about this.
Yeah, and he's mad at himself for being upset as well.
But he's also like really mad that it's happening, because like the Nuban is one of the most valuable people that he has, and so that's another thing that he's not happy about. So he's like not happy about it for like a number of different reasons.
Yeah.
And then also
it was the smart move.
But then also like when the Nuban meets his eyes, he's like, if it had been anything but forgiveness, it would have been okay. And it's like, and that's the part where I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, because like, and I think this, like the Nuban dying and everything like that scene, and again the Nuban forgiving him and Jorg be like, no, that really just does epically solidify. Like, if you had any doubts that they had a father-son relationship, that's what solidifies it.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, look, like, I get you. The Nuben's just like, I get it. You did the right thing. Because, as well, it's one of the few deaths as well that Jorg, well, actually, I think to date, it's the only death that Jorg, like, murder that Jorg has committed, where the Nuben's like, yeah, good job.
Well, it's also like it's also really the only death as well that we have slowed down to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is actually important. So it's one of those things where, like, we talked about this in The Cruel Prince, where, like, we don't slow down to process anything. With, like, Jorg, we do slow down to process a lot of stuff, but we don't process things, like, in the same way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we take note of stuff, but we don't process. For this, we actually have a scene where we're processing, which is important. It's, like, emphasis, because after this, we have, like, a fist fight with Reich, where Jorg is very reckless about it because Reich is 7 feet tall and twice at least Jorg's weight. And
because Jorg is very slim framed at this age. He's actually probably lanky.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want to be fighting 7 foot. Like, I don't know what this guy looks like, but I picture him looking Viking like.
Well, and also here's the thing, like, in my class, there was at 13 somebody who was 6 feet tall. I know what 6 foot tall 13-year-olds look like.
Yeah.
They do exist. You know how, like, labs look when they're in their really adorable awkward phase?
Yeah, or any big dog, really.
Yeah, like, you know what? A Great Dane is a better example.
Yes.
That's
adolescent Great Danes are hilarious looking.
No, they are. Like, they're very
giant, but they're lanky and they haven't bulked out yet. And I mean, like, they're not a bulky dog anyway, but whatever bulk they do end up getting, they haven't got it yet.
But also, they're not proportional in the way that they should be. Like, nothing's. They're having a bad day all the time.
They got really, really big paws on, like, stilts, effectively.
Yeah, and, like, everything's wrong. And so that is what 6 foot tall 13-year-old boys look like. They're Great Danes in adolescence. Okay. So you have a Great Dane in adolescence fighting a fully grown 7 foot tall man. Okay. Not a smart move.
Viking.
But he's having a bad day. So he does it to get some aggression out because he can't have emotions because he's Jorg.
Oh. Yeah. Also.
Sorry, 14. I apologize.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to address Twitch chat. We got multiple chats open because we're streaming to YouTube and Twitch, but also we don't always epically check the chat because we are distracted by talking about the book.
I'm sorry.
But I also did address what book we're talking about when you asked. It is the Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. So that's that. Also, apparently, Faye, also, you are quite gorgeous. Just so you know.
Thanks.
Just so you know, in case no one's told you lately.
So
and then we get confused when we go back to the book. That's
I know.
Why.
So then after that, they burn the dead because we just went through the whole necromancy thing, so we burn the dead. Then Gorgoth leads them onward because he knows where they're going. Surprise, necromancer! We behead him. Jorg cuts out the necromancer's heart. The Nuben knew a thing about eating hearts or whatever. It gives you, like, powers. If you eat a magical person's heart, this can give you their power. So Jorg, to, like, make a show of things, but also...
Yeah, he's like, worst case is that's all just superstition and I look like a badass. Best case scenario, I can also do a little bit of necromancy.
So he chomps on a heart. Like, he just whole ass is like, and it's like, all right, Jorg. Like,
that's what you want to do. But Nuben was right, wasn't he?
This is an example of one of those things where, like, when I first read the book, I actually zoned out at this part. Because this is a book where if you're reading it, you can't zone out ever. You'll miss something important.
Well, I mean, and I think part of that also just goes back into also the way all the scenes kind of blend seamlessly. Like, because that is one thing with a seamlessly blending book. Yeah, you can't zone out for a second because next thing you know, you're in a completely different scene and you're like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so that was another reason why note taking for this was like, and then I'm also listening to it and thinking about like context, and I was like, oh crap, all of it matters, which although is a compliment, honestly, because it's like there's no wasted page. There really is no wasted page time at all. Like we're not fucking around. But my notes basically transcribed the book with me like, what actually is important? All of it. Okay.
Everything.
Like everything matters. So we ate a heart. It's fucking wild. So we ascend the Great Stair and all of that kind of stuff. And then Jorg knows where to go because he had the map in the book. Also, there was a map in the book on the horror. Okay. That was the thing. And so now there's a giant door. It's a vault door. It's like, if you can imagine from like a bank heist movie, a big vault door with like the wheel on it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so how we gonna open it is, that's the whole thing. And then we can dig through a wall made of builder stone, except we can't because it's a giant fucking wall made of builder stone. So I will say, like, if you read these in order, the Red Queen's War series is much less confusing because I had to like figure this out through context clues because it's not as like explicitly stated. Because if you read them in order, this gets explicitly stated to you in this book. Yeah. Whereas if you're reading the Red Queen's War series, it's like a little more peppered in. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a thing. Anyway. This is another one of another one of the best scenes in the book because then Jorg just has them trying to break through the wall, mostly because he wants them to shut up and stop talking to him so he can think. So then he's just kind of like fucking
around.
He's just kind of moseying around and he feels something weird. And then he's like, Gorgoth, come here. And then Gorgoth does a thing opens. And then like Alexa, but not Alexa, is like, what's your name and password? And Jorg is talking to it like it's a dead spirit, but we know it's Alexa, right? Alexa's the best. It's like Alexa, but like Alexa in 10 years. You know what I mean? So that's the best way.
The AI has advanced at this stage.
Yeah. So, and then the spirit, and then like he just keeps going back and forth with it. It's been 1,011 years since the spirit has been, since Alexa has been here. And then, he's like, state your name and password. And then he's like, my name is Honorous George Ancraft. My password is divine right. Now open the fucking door is what he says. This is a great moment of the book. And then he's like, you're not authorized for chamber 12. And Jorg is arguing with a robot and I'm amused. Like, because it's Alexa, but he doesn't. And it's funny, okay?
Well, because at that stage it hadn't clicked yet as well. I was just like, cool. I don't know what the fuck's happening, but cool. Let's just go with this.
When you know what's happening, it's great. Yeah. When you know that he's arguing with Alexa and he's just like, I'm sorry. And then so they walk in and they're like, well, what is this place? And it's like, it's not like a lab, it's like a stock.
Oh, yeah. Well, we didn't get to that. He's arguing with it, and then the thing's like, by the way, like, that lock's broken, right?
It's like it's been broken for like 600 years.
And he's like, oh.
The robot's like, I'm
now.
Alexa's like, I'm just bored. And so then Jorg is like, okay, I'll set you free. So Jorg breaks Alexa, and then they open the door.
Yeah. Oh, because also, the Alexa was also like, do you know what it's like just sitting here doing nothing for centuries? Feels bad, fam. It feels bad. And Jorg's like, well, I guess I'll free you. And he's like, cool. Can you please do so? So that happened. Yeah. The Alexa was like, I'm bored. I'm done. Yeah. Yeah. So he wasn't being a jerk. It was a mercy kill.
Yeah, it was a mercy kill. Sorry. I should have said that.
Yeah, he wasn't being like, fuck you for fucking with me, you're dead now. He's like, okay, no. This is our
he did that as like, because he thinks it's a spirit. He's doing that. He's saying like, I'll set you free as a way to barter with it.
Yeah.
But we all know it's Alexa. So it makes it funny. I'm sorry. I love that scene. So he walks in and he's like, okay, these are like, he's like, oh, it's an armory. Because everybody's like, what is this place? Because it's like a bunch of like things of stuff and it's like an armory. It's like neurotoxins. I imagine like, I don't know if you've ever played Portal 2, but like the part of Portal 2 where you get to like all the neurotoxins.
Yeah.
That's what's in my head. Kind of.
It's like some sort of like bioweapon lab from the sound of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's where the Castle Redwater stuff comes from, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're like, this is where the water comes from, and this is also how you get like the monsters and stuff. And yeah, so Jorg is like, okay, so we're gonna blow this place up and we're gonna kiss Castle Red goodbye. And if the fumes roll into Ancraft, oh well. And then Macon is like, bitch, for real. And then he's like, all right, fine. Just blow up the castle. I guess. That makes sense. Shut up. But not like that, you know. It doesn't come out like that, but we're on book club. What are you gonna do? So he does actually listen to him. So then we blow up the fucking castle. Like, we don't even have to go in. You know, we just blow it up. And then also we start talking to people, and I wrote this in all caps. You don't even know what this means yet. But we get our first mention of the Silent Sister. And I was like, it'll be important later. Don't even worry about it.
Okay.
I squeaked. I squeak every time. I love these books enough that like when things happen in them, I squeak.
That's fair.
I feel like there are some people who don't know that I have that range of emotion. That they're like, oh my God, TJ can squeak over things. And it's like, yeah.
No. One of the things with Bay is she ranges between Ice Queen and Toddler. Not in terms of chucking. Well, sometimes when you chuck a tantrum, sure. But in terms of like, when you're excited, you're like, and you get all excited like a toddler does.
Yeah, it's true. I'm either like, I don't give a fuck, or I'm like there's pretty much. You're right. There's pretty much no in between.
She's an Ice Queen or a toddler. It's one or the other. You know which way I mean that in.
But no, I'm like, now that you say
it's going to be very excitable.
Because now that you say that, you're like, you're not wrong. I'm either like very excited about something or just like not at all. It's one or the other. Because like with Mercy, I really like those books, but like I'm just like, yeah, I really like them. I enjoy this. This is good.
You know, it's like whenever Stixie plays like new music for me or something, he's like, listen to this, and I'm just sitting there listening to it, and he's like, are you even paying attention? I'm like, shh. Every time he tries to talk to me, I'm like, shh. He's like, you don't look like you're enjoying yourself. I'm like, I'm taking it in. How absolutely dare you? He's like, do you like it? I'm like, I love it. He's like, you don't look thrilled. I'm like, I'm taking it in. I'm absorbing.
Like, All Time Low, my favorite band, announced that they were like actually releasing an album because I didn't know if they were going to do that because they released a single, and I was like, you're just going to fucking release a single like a bunch of and then they announced they were going to release an album. I freaked out. I was really excited. And they're not going to release it till April 3rd, and I unfreaked out. I'll freak out later.
Well, because also
I'm having like music withdrawals right now, okay?
Yeah, well, and this is another thing that you and I also share in common as well is when we're excited for something, we're very, very, very impatient It's like when you order something off of Amazon and like you've clicked on next day delivery, so you know it's going to be here like by lunch tomorrow, and you're just pacing the house waiting for it now. So we can't let ourselves get excited much. So that's why you're not being excited about thingy.
Exactly, because I'm like, I
So we
can't
pace
hold.
for the next few months.
It is February 17th. I can't just like hold on to like excitement until April. Also, if they don't tour for this, I'm gonna be so fucking salty.
Oh, they'll tour. Everyone
They
tours when they
need
release a new album.
I'm having
Everyone tours.
draws.
They'll tour. Babe, it's fine.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm being yelled at.
Oh dear.
I got called a doofus, and I don't feel like I really deserved that. I feel like I
We
asked.
did this year. Oh. Okay. Carry on. Oh, good.
Sorry.
Okay.
Welcome to book club, where we just look at each other and have conversations that you're not involved in. Oh God. Okay.
So back to the, I guess they've just
so-
blown up the castle.
Yeah. So we've blown up the castle, and like, there's nothing left of the castle.
Yeah, it's just.
It's gone. They did it.
Yes, he did it.
It's gone. So, anyways, then we before we go back, we jump back to 4 years earlier.
Yes.
The Nubian is saying like, this can't be done. You can't kill Count Rennar. So they're going in and they're about to kill. Oh, sorry. I got excited about the Silent Sister, and then we started talking about how excitable I am. So let me back up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, when they were fighting the necromancer type thing? Was it Magog that?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have Gog,
We lost Magog,
but we lost Magog.
and he felt bad about that.
This reminded
And
me.
he's like, "Don't feel bad," and he's like, "But I feel bad, but don't feel bad." And he had an argument with himself.
Yes. This reminds me of that. Kind of reminds me of the time where like Addie and I were watching Outlander.
Yep.
And there's like a part where, for whatever reason, Jamie names himself MacDo. And it's like there were like two characters and we didn't know what their names were. So we named them Mac and Do. And one of them died. And we were like, oh, we just lost one half of MacDo. And then we were like, and another one of them died. And it was like, we lost the other half of MacDo. And I don't know. Now we just name pairs of people MacDo. And it reminded me of like, it was like, we lost one half of MacDo. I don't know. That story doesn't make any sense out of context and to other people. And I wish I hadn't told it.
It's okay. Okay, back to the book.
I write books and I'm really bad at telling stories out loud. I just want to say that. Like, I suck at it.
Aren't we all though?
What it is like I get like a little sheepish like halfway through and then I stop. Like
You backtrack on your excitement.
yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, this thing, never mind. Like that's why I suck at it. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I want to tell a story. Okay. So where I got excited about us talking about the Silent Sister and I became a toddler. Right. So there are people talking in his head. Sages is in his head. Jane is here too. And then it's like, who lends you this power, Jorg? All the players are known, they say. And Jane is like, take care of Gorgoth and Gog and find better reasons to do your shit and also look to the strings. And then Sages is like, don't come home. And he's like, I'm coming home, motherfucker. And then we get back 4 years.
Yeah.
All the important stuff was said. Go me. And then they're like, we're going to go kill Rennar, but we also need to go talk to his magician or go murder his magician who's from the Horse Coast.
Yes.
Which is where they have magicians. And so then we go meet the magician and then we move back to now. So they're on the way back. They're doing a walk. And now we're in the throne room. And the queen is like, are we to assume that you lost everyone? Because she's a bitch.
Yeah, because she has zero.
Although
they all expected Jorg to never come back.
Although, like, now that I think about it, no, she's I'll let her be a bitch in my head. Because it's kind of
they send him off to die.
Yeah, they did send him off to die. That's true.
Yeah. She's not upset about the loss. She's upset that everyone else died except him, except no.
That is true. It's just like I don't ever stop to think about like, are people actually bad people, or does George just not like them?
Yeah.
But I don't care. And then he's like, you know what? I'll list off everybody of the Forest Watch who died. This guy who I yeeted off a cliff, and these other two who died doing stuff. And then he takes dust and stone, and he's like, this is Gelithar and the castle, and this is what's left of the castle. Have fun. And then he's like, every woman, every child, every man, every horse, every dog, like everything is fucking gone. That's what he says to his dad.
Also, also know that because again, reading it kind of feels like this all happened in the span of a couple of days. But the queen is a hell of a lot more visibly pregnant now. So again, it's been at least a month.
Yeah, so you get more of a sense of time.
Yeah, before she was just like a little bit of belly swell, and now she's like, wow, that bitch is pregnant. So, but she's not, she'd probably be about 6-7 months now, because then again, later on, she still hasn't had the baby. So, and we're about to have another month-long time jump. So, yeah.
So then his dad, like, whole ass stabs him in the heart.
Oh, he thinks he does, but he missed the heart.
He didn't miss his heart.
Oh, I thought he did.
No. He says to Catherine, I guess my dad missed my heart because he didn't die. But what actually happens is his dad does not miss his heart.
Okay.
But because he ate the heart of a necromancer, necromancy magic yeets him back to life. Because he's like, my dad's a lot of things, but he's not fucking incompetent. He did not miss my heart. And so that's why, like, when he actually looks at the scar, because by the time, we'll get to this in a second, by the time that Jorg wakes up, it's pretty much like the wound's like scabbed over and shit. And it has like all this black veiny stuff coming out of it. So necromancy magic kept Jorg from doing it dead.
Well, luckily he decided to eat that heart then.
Yep.
Thank you, Nubin.
Which also makes the fact that he died sadder. Like, it's just...
I know. Real daddy.
Which I think is also very interesting that, like, in a book where the side characters can feel quite shallow, there's also, like, you also do feel sad that one of them... Like, you know what I mean? Because it's very clear that they're supposed to be shallow.
Yeah, well, also, I think... because when he ran away as well, he thought Lundist was dead as well. We didn't talk about that. When he freed everyone. Who attacked Lundist?
I forget.
Someone was running at Jorg or something, and Lundist is like, no, and slow-mo jumped in front of him type thing, and, you know, Jorg's like, oh, well, he's dead. Fuck. That sucks. Like, you know, he's a good egg. But moving on. And then he finds out later, I think in book time, he's already found out by this stage. Lundist didn't actually die, but then his father had him executed the next day.
Yeah, he was sad about that. It's down farther.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was sad about that.
I was sad about that too.
Because he was a good egg. He was.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
George didn't like him, but he
respected him.
Yeah, he like respected him. And then
present Jorg likes Lundis a lot more than past Jorg did, because present Jorg can appreciate what he was teaching him.
Yes, exactly. Because in the present, Jorg is like, well, Lundis taught me to do this, that, and the other thing, like when he's thinking about what he's doing. And so then also when he hears like somebody say, oh no, Lundis didn't die, he's like, really?
And he's like,
and it's like, oh yeah, he was executed a day later. He's like, oh shit. Like, because then he's like because he doesn't say it, but you can extrapolate the fact that he's thinking, so I could have stopped him from being deaded, is what you're saying to me.
Yeah, if I didn't run, he would still be alive.
Yeah. And so he doesn't even have to think it for you to know that he's thinking it, which is another thing that's done quite well, is that you can kind of infer what Jorg is not allowing himself to think.
Yes, because that's the biggest thing. Jorg has a lot of human emotions that he's just like, go away, get back to the back of my head. Every single time he's just like swatting them away like flies.
Yeah, he's like, nope.
No one got time for that. No.
There's a short story, The Red Queen's War, that has Jalen and Snorri going to America. Oh my God, that would be great. Jalen and Snorri are great. I love them so much. Like, that is... when we get to the Red Queen's War, you'll see why that would be amazing.
Brother Price. It was Brother Price that's why he was like, I ain't afraid of no Price, when he was going off with the Nuban.
Okay,
It was
gotcha.
Brother Price that killed
Killed Lundist, yeah. Okay, got it. So,
I know also you have the omnibus that has the short story or something.
sorry. Well, the only problem with me having it is that I won't touch it or open it or move it.
I think I downloaded a bunch of ebook related stuff for it, so I shall see if that is included in what I have downloaded. If so, I shall send.
Like, I would love to open it, but like, I won't. I refuse to.
Yeah.
I refuse to mess it up.
I'll go through and see if I've got it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Right now, because it's in, because I don't have a bookshelf, it's actually in it's in a box.
Right, so I can be protected.
Yeah, so like the nothing gets on it, and the box is literally labeled, if anybody touches this, TJ will dance on your grave. Whatever. So
Okay.
yeah, so then after that, he passes out. An angel comes to him and is like, I can literally like forgive you. And at this point, I think like we can pretty much assume like this is an actual angel, because he actually does, like, he dies, he comes back. And it's like, you can be forgiven for all your sins and shit. And he's like, no. And she's like, pride is the deadliest of the sins. And he's like,
too bad, I got a game to win. Peace out.
He's like, bye, bitch. And then so he comes back, and then he wakes up, and Catherine is like, he's not dead yet. And Hannah is
she like a maid?
She's like a maid or a servant, and she's there, and she's like this old crone woman who's just like,
I'd like to kill him, please.
She's like, can we just kill him? Like, why do we have to be here? And Catherine's like, no, don't kill him. Just let him go when he's ready to go. And so he literally, like, he wakes up, and like he doesn't wake up to her neck, to her hand around his throat, but she does it. And then Catherine's like, stop it. And Hannah's like, fine, all right. And so then we're back to 4 years ago again. And so this one at Runners is like, this guy, I didn't write his name down till later, but he's like, I'll take you, I'll take Renar, and then Sages can have he's like, I'll take you, and Sages can have your dad, and you can forget the Count of Renar. And then he like literally cannot remember that this happened. He does not know that this happened until like he dies and comes back.
Yeah. So his death undoes the
binding thing.
Yeah, like
partly.
He's still bound to an extent, and he fights his way out of that later. But it all the stuff it's like in Vampire Diaries, when she's compelled to forget Damien.
Oh yeah, when she's
Damon, and she jumps into the no magic zone, and her memories come back.
Yeah,
jumps back, and she's like, "Okay, I'm good now."
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
And so then we go to now, and then he's not really like lucid. So it's kind of like the first time he killed somebody. He has his hand wrapped around Hannah's throat and he's choking her to death. And so then he like comes back to himself and he's like, have we murdered a Hannah? I don't know. Whoops. Because she was
in his defense, Hannah was trying to kill him.
Yeah. So he's not lucid, but yeah, she was trying to kill him. And then as a response, he killed her. So, oh yeah, the witches, the magicians, whatever. His name is Corian. That's his name. And we remember everything now. And he woke up because Hannah was trying to throttle her. So then now Catherine comes in and she thinks for some reason, this is like the only thing that bothered me, is that Catherine knew that Hannah had tried to kill him before. And then she's like, you murdered her for no reason. And it's like, really? Okay.
And literally all he had to say was, she was choking me and I was dazed and reacted, and this is the result.
I will give this to him that he's been unconscious for like a month at this point.
Yeah, no, I forgive it because like he's still like WTF is going on, because also his head's all a mess because he's just like, well, all this stuff's coming back to me. What the hell have I been doing? Because this is also when his thing is like, has it really been me doing everything for the last 4 years, or is it him, or is it a bit of both? This and that, and also dealing with that. And
yeah, so he's having like a bit of an identity crisis, and Jorg is the last person who wants an identity crisis. Okay, he's not handling this well.
No.
So yeah, so the fact that he doesn't have a good response is fine. Like, it makes sense. Also, he's 14. So.
And also every time he sees Catherine, he gets a boner. So there's also that confusion going on in his body too.
Oh.
Like he literally does.
Oh yeah. You know what? It's not released yet. I do have it pre-ordered though. But you're right, it's not released yet. Although that one I probably won't touch either. Until I have a bookshelf, it'll be in a box, and then it will be on a shelf. And it'll get dusted.
I can't wait till I can set up all my books, because they're also in storage at the moment.
Yeah, I really want to have a bookshelf because, like, I want to have my books set up. I want to have books. Like, I just, I have nowhere to, like, put my books. Actually, until recently, I didn't have copies of my books, which was a little sad. But, but I was going through all my books, and I was like, shit, I don't have copies of my own books.
Whoops.
So I bought myself copies of my own books. And I was like, well, that's been sorted. It was really sad. Because my mom was like, how do you not have copies of your own books? I was like, I thought I did. That's what happened.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? So anyway, and then this is another place where he repeats the line, you lose the game, and what have you lost? You've lost the game. So this is another thing where, like, in The Cruel Prince, or in that series, the Book of the Air series, there's a lot of, like, repeating the line line over and over again. Like, in The Lost Sisters, just, it's always be bold, but not too bold. And then, like, in The Cruel Prince, it's like, you're no killer, like, all that shit. And like, here it's not annoying. And
here it's kind of like he's reminding himself.
Right.
It's not just like just thrown in there.
Right. And also here it's put at places that make sense.
Yeah.
Also it's only done 3 times. It's only said 3 times because I noted it every time it was said. Because I like the one. So that's the other thing, is like it's repeated enough that you know that it's a repeat, but it's like iconic enough that you know that it's a repeat, but it's not done in a way that's so
not 48 times in 2 chapters.
Yeah. So if you want to repeat a line and do writing advice from Book Club with Bay, if you want to do a repeating line where you're putting emphasis on your syllable, whatever, then you can, but make sure it works.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I could finesse it to make it work. I'm very talented and all that, but I don't know that I could do it. But the way it's done here is not quite well.
I mean, in most situations as well, you'll find that if a line warrants repeating, it'll just be like maybe at most twice anyway.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of situations in most books where something has been said previously that, you know, warrants repeating more than a couple times throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah. But if you want it to be like the line of the book, I guess, I don't know. I think it's one of those things that has to like fall into place.
Yeah, well, like Bloodlines, for example, the whole center will hold thing. That gets established in the 4th book, and it gets used towards the end as a message to Adrian.
Yeah.
Like, via Eddie in Latin. And then it's something she tells herself to stay sane in re-education. And, you know, so it's the line's repeated, but again, it's contextually relevant to the story, and it's not done in a way that's like, fucking kill me.
Yeah.
So sick of hearing about how the center's going to hold.
Yeah.
So it can be done. It just pick your line wisely, pick your repeat moment wisely.
Yeah.
And then it's fine.
Don't repeat it just to repeat it.
Yeah. So Jorg knocks Catherine out with a vase, and he's like, I gotta get out of here because Daddy just tried to do a stabby stab.
Yeah, it's also noted that he didn't hit her very hard. And also at this point too, because he can't, and also at this point too, Jorg does not know how long it's been. So to him it's been like a day.
Yep.
So I don't know like that he thinks that he's just woken up, but like he just doesn't know.
Yeah, he's like, WTF. Last I was fully conscious, Father put a knife into my chest.
Right. And
I'm
so
out of here.
Yeah, so he did say to Catherine, like, oh, I guess he missed, but then like he thinks immediately after that, no, this motherfucker didn't miss. I'm just fucking alive, okay?
Yeah.
And so now we have to, so he goes like immediately to the dungeons, and he goes to get Macon. And then he's like, oh shit, it's been weeks, because Macon has like a whole beard and he looks like crap. And he's trying to get him out, and then he's thinking to himself like, you have to make sacrifices. When you have to make sacrifices, I guess I should leave Macon here. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And so then he's like looking at Macon. They're having like a weird dad-son moment. And then Macon knocks him out. And so now we don't have to murder Macon. So it's symmetry here as well, because he didn't have to murder dad figure number 2.
Yeah, because also like part of the reason why he was like, oh, do I kill Macon? Do I not kill Macon? Type thing was he's like, I don't know if Macon's going to be able to fucking come with me, but I'm not going to just leave him here. You know, so
and then he's like, wait a minute, why am I having a moment if I'm not going to leave him here? Like,
yeah.
And then also Macon is the one who actually tells him that Lundist didn't do it, Dad.
Oh, that was the other thing as well. One of the lines that I did like in that scene where he's contemplating killing Macon and everything is like, you know, I don't know why I was hesitating and I hate myself for doing it. Like he was mad at himself for having human emotions, which again says a lot about his character.
Yeah, like they're in there. He's
got more important shit to worry about than his own feelings.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah. And you know, it's also he's 14.
Yes.
He's doing his best. So you know, eating a heart actually worked. We have black veins growing out of the wound. His dad actually did stab his heart. And so then we're so now Jorg is still like intent on becoming a king, okay? And so at this point, you still don't know that Jorg would actually have a claim to the Renar throne.
Yeah, we think at the moment, because now he's like, oh, I actually remember that I was pissed off at Count Raynar, and I want to do a kill because he did a thing. So at the moment, we think he's just going to go get revenge on A, his witch, and B, him, I guess.
Right.
Because
So
he's like, has he clicked at this stage that he wasn't in control of the order he gave to do the killing? Has he clicked onto that yet?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I don't remember exactly.
I mean, it wasn't like a huge moment in the book. It was just like, oh well, if he was doing this thing to me, I guess he was doing that to him too. And I guess Dad also just made Dad do it. Okay, I guess I'll take your horses. So he's like, look, I guess none of us were in control of our own actions to an extent, but also I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's that.
So at this point, like you just think it's a revenge thing. It's not until he sees him and he goes, "Hey, Uncle Dub," that you're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
So he goes and he's with Megan. He comes across a guy. When did we actually go back and get the Forest Watch people?
I thought this was when they did that.
I think we do that first. No, sorry. We do this first. I noted it all down. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. Ignore me. So we come across Elaine and he's like, make way, peasants. And then we attack him and now Jorg has armor and we have a sword. So yay.
Yay!
And so then we find the Watchmaster because Ancrath is doing a thing in Renar and Reich and Gorgoth and like, yay. And then Jorg is like, I'm taking the Renar Highlands. It'll be my kingdom. And so then he's impersonating the guy he killed and
he's fighting in a tournament.
Yeah, he's fighting in a tournament. And we kill everybody.
Yeah.
Like we murder everybody. We're not really, I don't think we're supposed to, but we do. And the Count is there, and so is Corian, and then he's going to go after them. And then Corian is like, stop it. And so this is where he actually has to like fight through the bonds and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he does, and he beheads the guy.
Yeah.
And so now we're doing like a siege of the castle. And now we're face to face with Count Renar. And then this is where it's like, hey, Uncle, what up? And so then it's like with both his sons dead, Jorg is actually the heir to the throne.
Well, Jorg's only killed one of his sons, but he makes it sound like he's killed the other one too. And he's like, look, I'll get to that bit. I'll get to that later. I'll kill him later. But as long as they think he's dead, it's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So like he's not actually dead, but like, you know, tomato. So we're king.
Yeah.
Yay. We did it. And then he's like, then he says, I told you that by 15 I'd be king, and I'm telling you now that by 20 I'll be emperor.
Yeah, because he wants to reunite the Broken Empire.
That's
but
right.
also towards the end as well, like before he mentions that, because that's like the closing line of the book, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, he's going on about, you know, he's like, so I have been wondering, you know, how much of my actions were this and how much of my actions were my own choice and stuff. And I just figure, fuck it, let's just embrace it. But also, like, you know, I still think of Mother and William often. And I know that Mother would want me to have just killed him quickly, like the Count, quickly. You know, just justice, not vengeance. But fuck it. Every day I go and torture him a bit more and have him beg for death, and maybe one day I'll actually grant it to him. So he's torturing his uncle for every day as well. So that because I think that's also important to note, that once he's firmly within his own power, when it comes to now that he actually cares about revenge again, he will be cruel beyond what is necessary when he feels that the person deserves it. Whereas previously he was only as cruel as what was necessary.
Yes.
So while he was under this other person's control, he was actually less of someone to be feared, I guess.
Which makes sense.
So,
Because he was on a leash.
yeah.
He was being taken for a walk.
I mean, that said, those were like, because he still remembers everything that he did within the time he was under the control and everything, who's to say what he would be like had that never have happened in the first place?
Yeah.
But all of his life, like all of his, from what happened from the day that his mum and brother were murdered to now, has shaped him into this person that is horrifying, to say the least, I guess.
Yeah, he's quite horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's horrifying, and a lot of people don't like this book.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, as the reader, you feel vindicated as well, even knowing that Count Rayner wasn't in control of himself when he ordered the murders and stuff. You still feel vindicated that he's getting tortured on the daily. So
I'm
you're like, I'm glad that this is happening.
I'm not too fussed about it, I'm going to be honest.
Well, I guess my biggest thing is because I'm just like, especially because the way that William just keeps getting described and everything, like with the portrait of the mother, and she's like, how his mother hated that portrait of her that was hanging in the room, but the only reason she kept it is because her, like William, who was like the sweetheart of the family, was in it, and it was like, and so like I'm like anyone who had any part in his death, because like I just attribute, I'm superimposing my son's face onto William's character.
Yeah.
So I feel vindicated.
Well, the other thing too is like, Jorg gives a shit about this tiny little, like, who's like a year younger than him, but like this.
It doesn't feel like it though. It feels like he was like 6.
Yeah, but this child who was very innocent is somebody that Jorg still cares deeply about.
Yeah, as much as he doesn't want to, he still does.
So you're like, there's a shining beacon of light somewhere in the distance. If he has the capacity to give a shit about that and his mom.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But I like this book. And I like Jorg as a main character. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, but that's this book. The next one in this series is King of Thorns, and we'll be talking about that next week, actually, because this week we were supposed to talk about this last week, and then this week we were talking about The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black.
Yes, we are finishing the Folk of the Air. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
We're finishing another series. Oh my god, we're just like wrapping shit up like crazy. Sorry. On this channel, it takes us forever to get through shit.
Well, that's because some of the more recent series we've done have been really true.
It's not our fault
really long.
because we've been keeping pace. It's just that when you're doing a 12-14 book series, it takes you a while.
12 book plus 4 novellas plus 3 book sequel series takes a while.
It's torture.
I'm still not finished with it.
I know, but it's not our fault.
I know. There's October, I think it is, that it'll be out.
It's like looming in the distance.
I know, it's just sitting there going,
like, hey guys,
I'll see you soon. And we're like, please don't.
It's like a bus accident waiting to happen.
I hope it ends with both of the worlds just exploding. Like the two worlds, like, I don't know, like the rip in the time-space continuum thing, like, explodes, and then the two worlds collide and implode. And
I hope it ends on page 1. I really hope it's like JK and that's it. Because you know what? Even if that was the book, we could still do a 3-hour stream. Like,
no. Okay. We open the book, right? Chapter 1, Zoe. And then No, chapter 1, Kevin, right? And then it starts off with like how it would have gone. And then you know how like they change perspective mid-character? Oh, sorry, mid-chapter?
Yeah.
Then they change over to Zoe's perspective, right? Just as something badass is about to happen, like about 3 paragraphs in. And it's like Zoe shot upright in bed and realized it was all a dream. End book.
She's still 16. She's still dating Heath. Heath is still alive. Addie
No, just the Kevin bit. Just the other World Series bit. That was all a dream.
What?
Just the other World Series. That was the dream.
No, what if the whole thing was a dream?
No,
All
but
of it.
Heath would be alive if it was all a dream.
I know.
Why you don't want him to be alive?
But can you imagine?
Yeah,
Can
Zoe,
you imagine the aneurysm Addie would have if it was all a dream? And
can
he
you
was still
imagine the
alive.
aneurysm
And
that you and I would also have, even having joked about this? Even if it turns out to all be a dream, you and I are going to rage quit too. I mean, the series will be over. We can't actually rage quit it, but we will be rage quitting.
That would be literally a decade of my life wasted.
For a dream.
I would cry. I think I would cry. Like at the point that Addie was at when they did the going like dry, come out wet, and she started sobbing. That would be me. I would just start sobbing. I would be like, I can't handle it. Why did we do this to ourselves?
Thermometer, not pregnancy test. I'm sorry. I was just playing with that, and then I looked at the thing. I'm like, that looks like a pregnancy test.
I'm just fiddling with a pregnancy test. Anyway, I don't like. We always talk about how we always. You know what? It's the trauma of it all. So, again, Thursday we will be talking about the Queen of Nothing, and then we will talk about King of Thorns next week. So that is what's up. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time.